Championship week. We've waited all season for this week. Two teams stand above all the rest. And who'da thunk? It's a pair of brothers. Not the Covingtons. No. One of those has yet to reach a final. Excuse me. One of those is yet to win a final. Instead, we have the other set of brothers. Chuck and yours truly. They've won a combined 6 Legacy League championships. 3 each. What does that mean? That means after this week, we'll have our first ever 4-time Legacy League champion. But who's it going to be? It's been a long season with lots of ups and downs for everybody. One team was the number 1 seed, and they made it to the finals. That team is Atlanta Kibbles and Vicks. The other was on its way out. At one point, had a 99% chance of not making the playoffs. But they won their last few games, got a little bit of help from other teams struggling at the end. And when it came playoff time, they did what they had to do, and now the Daily Cheap Shot find themselves in the championship matchup. But that means a pretty easy win. Number 1 versus number 7, right? If you think so, you've never been in the middle of fantasy football. Because nothing is easy. Nothing ever happens as you'd expect it. Look at this playoffs. We've had Jonathan Taylor go down to injury. We've had Justin Herbert throw up a 3 spot just last week. We've had running backs that are top 10 running backs go for less than 10 points. Consistent, good performers we've seen completely drop the ball. And we're not done yet. Because we've got so many different scenarios playing out here at the end of the season in the regular football season. It has a big say-so in how fantasy football is going to end up. Case in point, the Eagles. They're not going to rush back Jalen Hurts. So we have Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Well, if they get way ahead, they're going to go ahead and start resting players. I know there's a couple of guys, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, they're going to play a role in this championship week. The way that the game plays out in Philly could be very important to how this fantasy league is going to play out. What about the situation in Oakland, or in Vegas? Derek Carr, benched, taking time away from the team. His best friend, Devontae Adams, is his heart even in it? Does he decide, you know what? I don't think I want to play this week or next week because my buddy isn't here. I don't like what you did to my buddy. That might seem very unprofessional, but you know what? He's there for one reason and one reason only, because Derek Carr was the quarterback. Without him there, I don't know if Devontae's going to play. That would be a huge blow to Atlanta Kibbles and Vicks to lose a top-flight receiver at this stage of the game over something such as that. And even if he does play, his quarterback just went from Derek Carr to Jarrett Stidham. I'm sorry, all you Stiddy fans, that's a downgrade. Maybe Josh McDaniels has some magic he's going to pull out of his hat. Or maybe he just crapped the bed. That could impact this matchup. But let's go through it, and we'll see what we think, and we're going to make a prediction as to who's going to come out on top. First, I wanted to give a shout-out. Our third place game is Massage Envy versus Full Tilt Mode. A couple of very solid teams during the regular season. And Massage Envy did a nice job getting to the semifinals from the 6th seed. He'll go up against the Full Tilt Mode. I'm going to go with Full Tilt Mode. I just trust the matchups. I trust the team. I trust the owner. And I think they'll get the job done, and they'll bring home the 3rd place this season in the Legacy League. Everybody else is still playing. I appreciate you working and playing so hard to have as good a record as you can. After this week, we will post career records in the league so we can see where everybody stands and how they've looked from year one, if you were here, to year, whatever you were at now, year 20, close to year 20. So we will post all those so that everybody kind of knows where they stand going into next season. I hope everybody's going to be back next year. We got a good group, fun group. It's a challenging season. It's a tough matchup every single week, and it's a credit to everybody that plays in this league. But that's all. Let's put all that to the side. We've got one matchup this week that matters more than all others, at least to the ones that are competing for the championship. We have Atlanta, Kibbles and Vicks versus Daily Cheap Shot, formerly as Chilltown. This has happened one other time for the championship in 2019. Who came out on top that year? It was Chilltown in a brother versus brother for the championship. Will the same thing happen this year? It's kind of a role reversal. If you look back in 2019, it was the Chilltown was the number one seed. And Atlanta Kibbles and Vicks was a team that was kind of on the lower side, 6-7 seed. So we've kind of flipped the roles. And now the question is, who will come on top this year? Well, let's take a look at our matchups. At quarterback, Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. That is a monumental. Most people would say there's two of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Well, we have them in our championship matchup. That tells me quarterbacks matter. They can get you chunk points. Big problem. Justin Herbert last week only put up around 3 points. Now it's a tough matchup, but still, 3 points is 3 points. He's going to need more than that this week if they're going to have a chance to win the title. They face Chargers face a tough matchup with the Rams, a team that's playing surprisingly well with all the injuries and the things that are going on there, and this is the lack of a good season. But that's going to be a tough matchup. Whereas Joe Burrow is going to go up against the Buffalo defense, a great defense. But Burrow seems to be immune to great defenses because he's got such great weapons. Those teams just tend to really, really play well no matter what. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Burrow just because consistently he's been very, very good. He was great last week. I look for that to continue this week as well. Running back position. We've had one play on Thursday night for Kibbles and Vicks, Ezekiel Elliott. He put up delivered 9 points, which is fine. It's always been a barometer with me. If I'm going to have a player have an off week, get me around 10. Everybody else will make up for that, but get me around 10, and I'm pretty happy with that. So that's always been my barometer. I thought that's what Zeke did, and I thought that was a solid week. You always want more, but if you're going to get a down week, give me at least close to 10. And he got in the end zone. That's always a benefit to get in the end zone. But total running backs, you've got, for Daily Cheap Shot, you've got Miles Sanders, top 10 back, and you have Isaiah Pacheco. I guess that's how you pronounce the name. And he's been a godsend for the Daily Cheap Shot. Sanders has been a little bit up and down. He's had his big weeks, but he's had some rough weeks. Pacheco has been very consistent, and I'll look for that to continue. And I think that's what's going to actually push them over the edge is a good solid week for Pacheco. Wide receivers. It's hard for me not to look at Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill and say that has to be the advantage, right? Maybe not. T. Higgins has been so good lately that he's really on the same level as Jamar Chase. He's almost been getting more touches and actually getting higher point totals than Chase. Chase coming off the injury. Maybe he's not quite back to where he was, but hopefully for Daily Cheap Shot's sake, that happens this week. Now, the other matchup, you got Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. I would generally lean towards Devontae Adams. You know, he's been consistently the best receiver in football for several years. But like I said earlier, he's got a problem. His buddy is Derek Carr. He may not play, or he's not going to play, but then you have Devontae Adams. Where's his head at? Is his head fully engaged? If it's not, that's a huge, huge negative for Kibbles and Vicks. So that's something to take into account. I don't think you can bench Devontae Adams if he plays, but it's something to keep an eye on to say, if I hear anything that he doesn't really want to play, or you've got to think about it. I mean, if you've got another option, you just don't want to get into a situation where he basically says, forget it. I'm screwing. I'm done. I'm not playing. So it's something to really keep an eye on up to game time for the Raiders. Tight ends. It's quite a great matchup. I didn't think it would be start of the year. Evan Ingram's been fantastic for the Jags. To me, his body looks like a wide receiver. He runs like a receiver. Been really good, especially last week. I think he broke out with a couple of touchdowns. And Dallas Goedert coming off injury. Great tight end for the Eagles. Again, you have the concern there. Gardner Minshew. What difference does that give you? I've got to lean towards Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram in the tight end position just because is Minshew going to favor Devontae Smith like he did last week? Is he going to favor A.J. Brown like he did last week? Will Goddard still get his touches? I'm sure he will. But, is he going to get the touches that he needs? And all these things are going to impact Miles Sanders as well. So a lot of pieces to play here with the Eagles. You have to look. I think that just the safe play is going to be going with Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence. They've been hot. That, to me, is the matchup to go to there. So I give the slight edge to Kibbles and Vicks at the tight end position. Defensively, it's a no-brainer. San Francisco, in my opinion, is the best defense in football. No matter who they play, they seem to put up good points. It just doesn't matter. And, the Bills defense going up against a Bills defense, that's a very good defense, but who are they facing? They got Cincinnati to deal with. I just don't see a scenario where you could ever look at it and say, I lean towards Kibbles and Vicks here. I think it's going to be a big advantage to Daily Cheap Shot. And if they end up winning this week, it literally could be the defense that got the job done for them. So, the coaching position, we'll give this one to Kibbles and Vicks. Daily Cheap Shot, they've got the Bucs, but the Bucs have been so hit or miss facing the Panthers this week. I'll be honest, if I'm really picking the game from a gambling perspective, I'm probably going with the Panthers. They've been hotter. They've been playing just better as a whole, in my opinion. I think they've got the quarterback that's playing better at this point. So I think that's going to hurt them. You may even see a change before game time as to who the quarterback is, as who the coach is for Daily Cheap Shot, because that's one that's very, very nervous, makes you very nervous being the team owner. So maybe look for a change there in the coach if they can find something that can replace. So keep an eye on that matchup. But right now, it's got to be way on the side of Kibbles and Vicks just because you can't trust the Bucs at all right now. Defense isn't that great. The offense can't score. So it's tough to go with anything they're part of. So what does that mean? I mean, I broke it down. We got some for Kibbles and Vicks, some for Daily Cheap Shot. We got a 3-point home advantage for Kibbles and Vicks. Who's going to win this thing? The projections are almost identical. So in my opinion, like I said, I think it's going to come down to the wide receivers. It's going to come down to the defense. And in the end of it all, I think for the second time in a brother versus brother matchup, the Daily Cheap Shot is going to eke out a close, but effective victory. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tight. But I think that's what you're going to see is that the Devontae Adams piece, I think, is going to be important. And I think the 49ers, their defense is going to absolutely lock up those Raiders and Jared Stidham. And that combination of holding down Devontae while the defense gets max points, I think it's going to be huge in determining our champion of the Legacy League. If you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. That's my viewpoint. Maybe I'm biased, or maybe I'm just telling the truth. I'm sure I'll get some flack and I'll get some hate. I can take it. I'm a big boy. So let me know what you think. Chuck, look forward to the competition, and let's crown us a champion for the Legacy League in 2023.